I had a subscriber to the channel send me in some of these pictures of his 2001 Performance Red Mustang Cobra. Now this car is really neat, and if you look at the pictures you'll start noticing some things right away about the car. The first thing that I notice when I look at this is the turn signals on the fender and the mud flap pieces. And then I notice the wheels, and the first thing about the wheels that sticks out is the center cap doesn't have the SVT logo on it. Those are the 99 to 01 Cobra wheels, but they do not have the center caps. And then going under the hood into the engine bay, there's something really interesting I noticed about the air intake system on this 01 Cobra. Look at the silencer box, like the Mach 1s have. Here's another engine bay shot of another one of these special 2001 Mustang Cobras that also has the silencer box, which is a little bit easier to see in this picture. And going back to the original picture of this car in the engine bay, you'll notice something very interesting. The brake master cylinder is on the passenger side. Have you figured out what I'm getting at with all this? Let's go back outside of the car for the one final clue that should give this away. If you look at the front bumper, you can barely see that it's not the same as the average 2001 Mustang Cobra. It is an 01 Cobra bumper, but there are some things on the front. Looking in the front of the bumper, above the fog lights, in the center of the bumper there, you'll see some little recessed holes there and a black housing. That would be because this car is none other than a Australian import 2001 Mustang Cobra. This is a really neat car. You wouldn't know, but there are quite a few differences that have to change on this car to make it work this way. And I'm not going to go over all those differences because Danny Johnson has already made a pretty good video about the Australian Cobras. But just looking at the interior here, you can see even the left driver door, which would be the driver door in America, even that door panel has to have a separate panel for the window switch and lock button, because on any door pull that you would get in any Mustang for the American side, it would have the passenger and driver window switches and door lock and power mirror button. And if it was a convertible, it would have a longer panel that would have the convertible top rear window buttons and everything there. So that alone is just something that had to be changed. Now the owner of the car had told me some information. I had heard this before. I didn't remember the names right off. And he had said that the right-hand drive Mustang Cobras were really rare. They were expensive because they were expensive anyway, and then converting them to a right-hand drive was something that costed a lot of money. And it was done under a joint venture between Ford Australia and Tick Ford Engineering. And I had heard about all the process they had to go through with, changing everything over, the pedals, everything had to be swapped over. So there's actually quite a bit involved with it. But I did just want to talk a little bit of the brief history about this car and how neat it is, how rare it is, all that cool stuff about it. So he was saying that the Terminator Cobras didn't make it to Australia. So Ford just decided not to sell any more Cobras after 2003 or 2002, but there were still some left over in 2003. And they would be these cars, the 01 style Cobra Mustangs. And out of all the ones sent there, interestingly enough, there were 403 cars sent to Australia like this, but only 120 were coupes. I think that's interesting that more convertibles went over there. 283 convertibles went over there. And out of all those, 22 coupes were performance red like this one. So that's actually pretty rare. This car is one of 22. And this car was actually owned by Ford Australia for the first 6 months of its life. Then it was owned by a Ford dealer in rural New South Wales, which is in Australia. Not to be confused with Wales in Europe. But it was owned there for 13 years until it was sold to a friend, and that friend is the one who sold the car to the current owner. And that was this last November in 2019. So I think that was really neat. The car only has 59,000 kilometers on it. That was going to be another clue I was going to put into what this car is, that it's in kilometers. That's about 37,000 miles on it, so just a little bit more miles on it than what my Orange Cobra has on it. So that's pretty low. So here are a couple pictures of that front bumper for those of you who aren't familiar with the Australian models. They look really interesting. And something else I noticed was they do have the export folding mirrors, but they're black. On all of the Australian cars that I've seen, they are not painted to match the body like the other Cobras. For 2003 and 2004, and I believe other export cars had paint match colored mirrors. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe the other export mirrors were all black. And those center cap wheels with the non-SVT logo in them. So on this other Australian model, you can see it's the same. Also, you'll notice the import tail lights with the amber turn signals on them. That is what you would find on all 99 to 01 Cobras, including the Cobra R, and a lot of the Mustangs that were export models had those. In some countries, it's mandatory to have the amber turn signals. And of course, the fender badge turn signals that you can see there. And something interesting I noticed about all the Australian ones that I have seen pictures of is there is no SVT badge on the deck lid. I find that interesting that that is missing. And as we talked about, there is no SVT logo on the center caps of the wheels either. So I don't know if there's a problem with the SVT lettering in Australia, or if that was something that, I don't know why that would be off, but every one that I've seen did not have those items on it. So I think that's really interesting. But anyway, this is a beautiful car. And it was very nice to talk with the owner of this car through commenting, and he was very polite and very nice and excited and enthusiastic, and I would be too, especially if I lived down there and had a car like that, because those are very rare. Somebody I was talking back and forth with in France has a Mustang, which I'll be doing a story on, and they had said that people ask them, what kind of car is this? Because they don't even know what a Mustang is over in France. Not all people, just some people don't recognize the car, never seen one before, and ask them what kind of car it is, even with the running pony on the front. So I think that's really interesting. So that's just a quick little story, little insight about a 2001 Mustang Cobra and a really nice owner who contacted me and talked to me through the comments on the channel. And I just wanted to share that with everybody and give their car a little bit of a shout out. So thanks for sharing, and I'm grateful for the friendships I make on this channel. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and remember to subscribe to the channel if you're not already on here, and like the video, and stay tuned for more Mustang content.